guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's been a bit of a while, but we've got time today, so we thought we'd have a look at a project that's in my machine embroidery book here. We thought we'd look at, can you see that? We're going to look at these little tiles today, and they're really rather sweet, and they make the most beautiful tiled panels, or you could make a lovely gift card, or if you want to not lose your scissors, you can make a lovely one of these which you can dangle on your scissors, and they're all done from these tiny little tiles which are all machine embroidered with thread. Right, so here we have on the table the little tiles which I'm just removing, and we will need 2 pieces of white cotton. It could be calico, it doesn't really matter, but you will need 2 pieces of it. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to mark our design on. So I've got these little tiled designs which are also you know, in the book, and you pop that underneath, and you want to make sure that you don't do your tracing in the corners, because this, when it's traced on, has got to go in the middle of a wooden embroidery hoop, and if you get it too close to the edges, then when we do the free motion stitching, it's going to keep banging against the edges here, and we don't want that. So make sure you get it in the middle. And then I'm going to use a friction pen, but it could be a pencil, because we're actually going to cover all of this, so it doesn't really matter. I'm not going to be too bothered about straight edges, because I think, you know, if they're a little bit sort of on the wobbly side, it makes them look more unique when they're actually embroidered. And I'm just going to mark on my design that I'm then going to embroider with free motion stitching on my sewing machine. And you can see I'm just sort of making sure I've got the design roughly where I want it. It could all change when I get to the free motion, because as we know, you can go a little bit off route with free motion if you're not thinking far in front of yourself. And oh, there we go, that's just coming, last one. And the good thing about this friction pen, which is brilliant, if I decided I drew that wrong, then I can just take it to the iron and I can iron it all off and start again. So there we have the design on the piece of fabric. It's a little bit crooked, but don't worry, because when we've embroidered it, we'll straighten it out. Now that needs to go into your hoop really, really tightly. So I'm popping the inner ring underneath. No, I'm not. I'm changing my mind. You see, you have to keep on the ball with this. I'm putting the outer ring underneath, and I'm going to pop the inner ring in, and hopefully that's going to go in there nice, and there we go, it's in there. And then once it's in, you need to go round, and you just need to make sure that you work all the way round the hoop. It's not just a matter of popping it in a hoop. You have to pop it in the hoop and then go all the way around the edges, as you can see I'm doing, making sure that it's tight on all the edges. So that's in there now, and that should sound like you're playing a drum. So that means that I've got it in there nice and tightly, and it's not going to ping off while I'm stitching. So that's ready for me to stitch now. So come back in a minute and I'll just set the sewing machine up. Right, so here I have the machine set up. I've got a green on the top, and I've put a green bobbin in the machine. That way, at least if the same colour's top and bottom of your machine, you know it's not going to pull up the lighter colour from underneath. I'm going to pop this under the machine, and what a lot of people forget is that there's actually a spring on here, and if you just lift it like that, look how easily that goes underneath the machine. Now, the first thing that I do, and I know it's difficult with some of these new machines because you can just start with a new machine, I still like to get my bottom thread to the top. So I'm going to do a full rotation of the sewing machine, and then I'm going to pull this thread, and hopefully, yep, there we go, that's the underneath thread coming through, and just pull that through so that you've got it, and then you can pop those threads to the back. And if you see, I've wrapped them around my fingers and popped them to the back of the hoop. Now, the next thing that people forget to do is to get so excited about starting, they forget to engage the machine and put this down at the back. If you don't put this down at the back, you'll get a bird's nest on the back of your work. Now, line the needle up again, and what we're going to do is we're going to start to work on these leaves that I've drawn on, and you just get the machine up to a nice speed, and it's a backwards and forwards movement. And I'm colouring in using the needle and the thread that's in there. It's literally, that's just like having a felt tip pen, and I'm just going backwards and forwards next to each other. Quite a controlled speed, you don't need to go too fast. And I'm colouring in, I'm going to put a little bit of a line down there just to tidy that up. And I'm going to go back to a backwards and forwards action. Now your stitches should be next to each other, not on top of each other. And if they start to go on top of each other, you'll start to hear a sort of pinking noise because it's having to go through the stitches that were previously there. So that's why I'm going next to each other. So you're almost doing like a machine satin stitch to fill that area in. And you just keep going as long as it takes you, and you work your way round, doing these little backwards and forwards stitches until you have filled in this length. Neaten that up. So every now and again I go round the edge and then I come back to the backwards and forwards satin stitch. There we go. And I'm going to come round here, so I'm just going to put the edge in here first so that I can see it, and then I'm going backwards and forwards again. If you miss anything, just go back and get it. Try and keep a sort of backwards and forwards direction. There we go. I'm going to go round that one now, and I can come back and I can start to fill in. Now I'm not going too fast, because the faster you go, the quicker your reactions have to be. This way, this is quite a nice speed for me to control and keep an eye on what I'm doing. If I went too fast, and just to prove that, now you see I have to move faster, and therefore I don't have so much control. So slow down, and you've got more control to get that leaf. Now, hopefully you can see, look, that's coming along quite nicely. And don't worry if you have to stop and twist your work round to see where you're going. Sometimes I have to, because I can't see everything with the foot on. The more, if you've got an open-toed foot that goes on your machine for your free motion, then make sure you put that on, because we need to be able to see as much as humanly possible so that you can actually get your stitches in place. Now, let's just go round there, and then I'm just going to start to fill in that last bit of this leaf. I'm just going to put a little bit more speed on. You can hear it's beginning to sort of make that pink noise, and that's because I'm stitching over stitches just to sort of make sure that I've got everything. And then you neaten that up. And there you go. That's your first leaf in. So now what I would do, these thin lines here, I'm just going to point them out with the scissors. These thin lines just here, that are coming up here, the stems, I don't put those in, because when I put my background in, which is all going to be in cream or a white, that is such a thin line coming up this one here, that I'm going to lose it. So what I tend to do is I put in all my big areas of my green, then I'm going to put in a slightly lighter green in these areas here and here. Then I may use the light green on these leaves, and then I'll go back to the darker green on these ones, And then the tips, these are buds, I will do those in a pink or a red. And when that's all in, then I will deal with the background. And with the background, you need a colour that, if I don't know if you can see that colour there, this is a rayon thread, and this is rather nice because it is a sort of neutral background. And when we put that into the background along here and all in between all of this piece, what you'll get is this lovely look of, oh, I've got to stretch. You'll get this lovely look here. So can you see in the background here, I've used this sort of variegated colour here, and I've done all the background in exactly the same way as we've just done this. The only difference is I've tended to keep my stitches going one way as I've done the background. And once that's in, I can then put in the green stems to those buds, and then I can work on top of the cream background, and I can do all these lovely little swirly bits that you can see. You could put a glittery thread on, and I quite often, because I like to outline the drawing slightly, I put a darker thread on and I go round all of my petals and my leaves again, and you can put stamens in as well if you want to. And that makes this lovely, almost like, it's quite a stiff, you can see all the stitching on the back, it's absolutely covered with stitching, but it makes a real stiff little sort of tile, which then I cut out right up to the edge, and then I've used a glitter, and I've just glittered the edge, which basically acts as a fray check. And means that nothing can fray. If I do snip one or two of my stitches as I go around with the scissors, this stops them from undoing and going anywhere. And you get this lovely little glittery tile, which you can go on to do something like this. And this was my home sweet home tile that I made for a little competition locally. And I was very pleased with the result. Well, there you go, guys. There you have it. Now you know how to do one of these lovely little tiles that you can make something nice with for a friend, or you could make a lovely tile like I've made here, which sits on my wall, which says how I feel about my home. So I hope you enjoyed that. So remember to like, share and subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you'd like a copy of my book, then that's available on my website shop. You can go there and get that. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. I look forward to next time. I'll see you then. Bye.